everyone, welcome back. How's everyone doing today? Did you do anything for the 4th of July? We chose not to do anything. It was really hot and muggy out that night, and we had a lot of neighbors already doing fireworks, so we just kind of peeked out the windows to see what they were up to when they were doing their fireworks. And I honestly didn't see the point of spending money on fireworks this year because we have a lot of debt to pay off, so it just seemed to make more sense just to enjoy what everyone else was doing. And also with the weather and the mosquitoes, it was just a lot nicer just to stay inside. I also have an update on the dentist. I did go on July 1st and I did end up losing a tooth. Basically what happened was I had an infection where they're not sure if it started with the gums or the tooth, but it was a pretty good size infection. And the dentist was like, hey, I really want to have you do this today. I know you didn't come in planning on having a tooth removed, but I did go ahead and just get it removed, and it was around $435. So that's going to be in a next video for probably part B, maybe, on this journey. So we'll go ahead and start diving into the other numbers. So we start the journey off at 3,300 is the total, and this is Voyage 13, Part A, and I plan on breaking this down into 3 different parts, mostly because it just seems easier to have a smaller time frame versus a big time frame. And then we are on week 3 of this journey, and I plan for it to go to week 5. And so this one we plan on getting the vet bill for $300 paid off, and that's on the Citibank, so we'll be sending payments to the Citibank on that. And then there's a Discover 2 balance transfer where we plan to get $3,000 of that balance transfer conquered in the next this week during the Part A part of it. So we're in week 3 of that, and we have 2 more weeks to get the 3,000 accomplished. And then since it's week 3, I have 3 seahorses joining us on our adventure. And then we'll start off with a line of credit 1, and the funds are in the checking account. So we start off with, this is kind of a repeat of last week, but there's some updated numbers on this. So we start off with $331.68. And then we had a payroll check for June 27th came in for $2,088.55. That gave the balance to $2,004.23. And then on June 27th, we did a Discover 2 payment for $560. That brought the balance down to $1,860.23. We did do a Citibank payment of $85.57, and that $60 is included in that $85.57. So that brought us down to $1,774.66. Then there was a 1 cent credit, which brought us to $1,774.67. And then we did pay the gas bill, which is for the house, for $53.80. And currently on that checking, we have $1,720.87. And then, after the updated numbers, we start again at that $1,720.87. And then for this week, we did send $100 to savings, bringing that balance to $1,620.87. And then for the breakdown on the lines of credit, we sent $140 to line of credit 1, and that's to, each week we're going to do $140, and then we'll take out money to pay the bills from the line of credit 1. And then that went down to $1,480.87. And then we sent $200 to line of credit 2, which will be holding the mortgage funds until the payment is due on that. So that brought it down to $1,280.87. And then the July 4th Discover 2 payment for $560 brought us down to $720.87. And then we just did a regular payment to Discover 1 for $170, bringing the balance of checking down to $550.87. And then, just so we have kind of a clear view on the funds, I did have where this is like an emergency fund checking. So because of the dentist and I wasn't sure what the lines of credit were going to do, I went ahead and I made sure that the main checking account had extra funds in it. So it started off with $5,636.41, and then I did go ahead and send $500 to the Citibank for the dentist bill. And then loan one needed $73.77 to finish that payment, bringing that down to $5,062.64. Line of credit 2 had a regular payment of $122.32, and that brought the checking down to $4,940.32. Line of credit, this would be the 3, needed $122.30 for its monthly payment, bringing it down to $4,818.02. And then we also did a mortgage payment for $761.84, bringing it down to $4,056.18. And so what I want to do is be able to replenish that dentist portion of it, since this is an emergency fund. And it turns out with the lines of credits, I did go ahead and send in payments for this week, and I think, and it's not advancing the due dates like I had thought it might, but actually it's going to work out well this month because the August 1st is on a Friday, so we'll end up sending a payment towards each of the lines of credit, so that should not be a problem on that. So we'll bring up to date the savings account. We had $44.25. We did get 3 cents of interest added to that, bringing it to $44.28. And then on July 4th, we put our first payment of $100 in that savings account, and that's at $144.28. And then for our loan number 1, I found out that I can do weekly payments to this without any trouble, because it will advance the due date, and plus it'll show you how much is actually left to pay for the month. So on June 14th, I sent in a payment for $50, and then $20.61 went to interest, and then $29.39 went to principal. And then for that loan, I sent in another $793 to even out the dollar amount, so that was $793 for principal. And then on June 21st, a payment of $59.58 was applied. $9.58 went to interest, where $50 went to the principal. And then on July 1st, what the system did was it went ahead and took out the remaining amount due for the July 1st payment, which was $73.77. So then $60.16 went to principal, $13.61 went to interest. So for the whole month of June, interest was $43.80, the principal was $147.48, and then the payment was $191.28. I just realized I forgot to put like the beginning balance and the ending balance on that, so I think that will be something I will do next time. Need to put beginning balance and the end balance. So I'll just put a note for myself to remember to do that next time. And then I'm going to update on the line of credits, where we're at right now with those. So essentially for this next voyage, my plans are to have the bills come from line of credit 1. So each week I'd be sending $140 to that line of credit. Currently the balance is at $11,223.39. There is $776.61 available in that account right now, and the monthly payment is currently at $116.05. So the plan is to hopefully not use the whole $140 each week, and that way you'll start paying down and chipping away at that balance. And then also what's nice about these lines is on the amount that you pay each month, this originally started off being $120. As you can tell, as the line gets down, it needs less and less of a payment. So I think it only needs 1% of the amount for the payment. And then with line of credit 2, we start off with $12,132.95. Currently available is $367.05, and the plan on that is to send the payments for the voyages to just kind of hold its place in there for the $560, and that's just to make sure we can get the payment of $122.30 made, and that way it stays current on that one. And then for the line of credit 3, we're starting off with a balance of $11,944.77. Currently available is $555.23. And the plans are each week to send $200 to this line, and the monthly payment is at $122.32. And this is for the mortgage funds. So the total balance of all 3 lines comes to $35,301.11. And then currently available in all 3 of the lines is $1,698.89. And then for the weekly payments, it comes to $900 will be applied to the different loans throughout each Friday. And then the full amount that's actually due monthly is $360.67. And then my thought is to also, since the Visa is also one of them I had been using to run money through, I was thinking about maybe just parking part of the savings account into the Visa. That way it's getting paid down. And then I would also put 50, like I would put 50 inside the Visa each week and then 50 outside. That way we have more liquid funds available. And just kind of the way the economy is going right now, I'm thinking I just want to have a little bit more liquid funds and not have everything tied into all the lines. So then we go into where we're at for the Voyage 13A, and we're in week 3, and we did do the $560. So 1,680 minus that 560 leaves us $1,120 that's still due for that Discover 2 to help pay off the plan of Part A. And then we did send $60 to the Citibank as part of another amount. So 180 minus the 60 means we still have $120 that we still need to send to the Citibank. And then once again, we did accomplish $620 of debt reduction. And that brings us down to $1,240 left on the journey. And then we'll go ahead and update the captain's log. And then I decided I was kind of silly. I could have just used this full line and just move everything down. So I did decide to go ahead and just move stuff down. So we paid off $620, and was it $1,860? So we have $1,240 remaining. And then $1,440 what's been paid off, adding $620 to that means we've paid off $2,060 so far on this journey. And then we had $56,909.87 was what's paid off. Adding the $620 from this week brings us to $57,529.87. And we still have 2 more weeks, weeks 4 and 5. And then we have the credit available sheet. So I updated this where currently I think what I'll do is once we get this Discover 2 paid off, because that's what our journey is on this Voyage 13, so that should be done by September 29th, then I'll probably drop this tiny revolving credit and not use that, along with the Discover 2 will be conquered by then too. So currently in this tiny revolving credit we have $500 available. Visa, we have the limit of $10,000. We have a balance of $8,372.61, which means we have $1,629.39 available to use. The Citibank is at $18,000 for the limit. We are currently using $6,000 of that limit, so there's $12,000 available there. Discover 2 has a limit of 18,500. We're currently using 6,120 of it, meaning the available will be then 12,380. And then we go to Discover 1, where the limit is 20,000. The balance is at 8,145. Available is 11,855. So then for the total limits will be 67,000. And of that amount, we're using 28,637.61. Available is $38,364.39. And then the total goal is to eliminate all credit card debt, and then we'll move on to the lines of credit and paying those down after we get the credit cards done. So please let me know if you have any questions or comments. Please like and subscribe to follow my debt journey, and I'll talk to you in the next video. Thank you so much. Bye.